welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about multiplying and dividing integers. So for this video, you're going to need to have some background knowledge. You're going to need to know what integers are and how to do operations with integers and basically how to add and subtract integers. Integers are basically just positive and negative numbers. Now, if you already know all these basic stuff about integers, then you can get straight on with the video. But if you still don't know what that is, or if you want to find out what that is, there's a video from my channel where I show how to add, subtract integers, basically an introduction to integers. And I'll put it right up there in the icon. So make sure to check that out if you still want to know what integers are, how to add and subtract integers, the background knowledge you're going to need to know before you learn how to multiply and divide integers. So now let's get on with the video. So multiplying and dividing integers. So we all know, if you already know what integers are, we know that if there is a negative and a negative side by side, we know that it's going to make a positive. And if we have a positive and a positive side by side, we know that it's going to equal a positive. And if we know that if there is a negative and a positive side by side, we know it's going to equal a negative. And what I mean by that is, for example, say we have a negative, pretend that there's like numbers here and here. Negative and negative side by side is going to equal a positive. Kind of looks like a face. So this follows this formula. So a negative and a negative equals a positive. And if you have a positive and a positive side by side, it's going to equal a negative. Okay, so if you have it side by side, you're going to turn it into a negative. And this follows this formula. And if you have a negative and a positive, that's the parentheses, by the way. These two are parentheses. That's just an and sign. If you have a negative and a positive side by side, it's going to make a negative. And this follows this formula. And remember, if you have any numbers in between, like say I had like a 5 here, or a 2 here, or a 6 here, it wouldn't work. It has to be side by side with nothing in between. So we already know that stuff. So now in this video, we're going to know how to multiply and divide integers, because we already know how to add and subtract integers. So let's get on with learning how to multiply and divide integers. Okay, so we're going to learn how to multiply and divide integers by working out some examples. So the first example we're going to work out is negative 36 divided by 4. And we know that if a number has no sign, that means that it is a positive number. So now what we're going to do first is, when you're solving a multiplication and division integer problem, the thing is that you're usually not going to have, like very, very rarely, you're not going to have two signs that are exactly side by side. Like you're not going to have a negative and a negative side by side, a positive and a positive side by side, a negative and a positive side by side. You're not going to have two signs that are side by side. There's going to be numbers and a division or multiplication sign in between. So just make sure you remember that. That's why multiplying and dividing integers is a lot easier, because you don't have to simplify the signs like how you have to do for adding and subtracting integers. So let's just get on with how to do it. So first of all, you're going to forget about the signs. I'm just going to put a positive sign here just to emphasize that this is a positive number. So you're just going to forget about the sign. So you're just going to bring the numbers down. So we're going to forget that there's a negative sign and a positive sign. We're just going to bring the numbers down. And we're going to actually solve this out. So this is why you're going to need to memorize your multiplication and division facts, because this is really going to help you when you start to work with integers and other bigger numbers. So now if we actually find the quotient, solve the answer. If we do 36 divided by 4, that's going to equal 9. Okay, so now we have our quotient. So now after you've found the product of or the quotient, now you're going to work on the signs. So first of all, you're just going to write down all the signs that we have in the question. Signs meaning how many addition and subtraction signs. So we're just going to write down how many positive and negative signs there are. We're just going to write down them all. So we have one negative and we have one positive. Okay, so the negative comes from the negative 36, the positive comes from the positive 4. So now we have a negative and we have a positive. And even if they're not side by side, we're going to solve it and find the kind of answer of the signs. So if we look at this formula box, we see that a negative and a positive is equals a negative. So this is going to equal a negative. Okay, now even if these signs aren't side by side, you're still going to put the signs down and find the answer, even if they aren't side by side. Just forget about if they're side by side or not, okay? You're just going to put the signs down and just solve out the signs, and then we're going to put the answer of the sign. This is going to be the answer of the sign to the answer of the problem. So now we have our answer. So basically, how you're going to find the answer is you're basically just going to simplify the question down so that you have a question without any of the addition and subtraction signs. Solve that out first. Then you're going to put down the addition and subtraction signs, solve those signs out, and then put the answer with this answer. So it's honestly a lot easier than adding and subtracting integers because you don't have to simplify. Now we're going to work on a few more examples here before we are done for today. Okay, so now we're going to work out two more questions. We're going to do negative 50 times, let's say, negative 2. And we're going to do positive 6 times negative 3. Yeah, that would work. Okay, so one thing that's going to make multiplying and dividing integers a lot easier is if you just look at the signs. You don't even have to see if it's the subtraction sign or addition signs. If you just look at the signs, and if there are two signs that are the same, if the signs are the same, then the answer automatically is going to have a positive sign, because if you see here, if there are two signs that are the same, it equals a positive. So even without looking at whether the sign is negative or whether the sign is positive, if you just look at the sign, and if you see if it is, they both are the same, you know it's going to be a positive sign. And just like that, if you see that they are different signs, if there is like one subtraction or one addition, if the signs are different, if they aren't the same, then it's going to equal a subtraction sign, because if when the signs are different, it equals a subtraction sign. So that way it makes solving the signs out a lot easier. Basically, if the signs are the same, then it's going to be positive. If the signs are different, it's going to be negative. And that just makes finding out the signs a lot quicker and a lot easier. Then you can just solve the numbers. So for this question, I can just do 50 times 2 now. And for this one, I can just do 6 times 3, because I already have the signs done. So now 6 times 3 would be 18, 5 times 2 would be 100, and then I could just write the answer down with the sign and the whole problem, which would be, for this one, it would be 100, it would be a positive 100, and this one would be 18, and it would be a negative 18. And there you go, you have your answer. So this is why doing multiplication and division with integers is a lot easier, because you just need to look at the signs, and if they're the same, you know it's going to be a positive. If they're different, you know it's going to be a negative. It just goes really, really quickly. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Comment down below what you guys want to see next, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!